Hi, Groovers. I'm back cooking, and today we're going to make scones. I love you, Cooking with Kay. I'm just going to mute my YouTubes. Hang on a second. So we are back in the Shitty Kitty kitchen again, live again, because we are now doing the CWA, the Country Women's Association from the state of Victoria in Australia, their cookbook. And we're just going to be making scones, but not any scones. These are the scones that are used at the Royal Melbourne show. Does that sound posh or what? Now, when I was Googling to find a photo to use, I actually found this recipe online and that added some extra tips. The CWA recipes are very basic. Like the pumpkin scone recipe on the other page is literally a couple of lines. So I've scribbled some extra notes on to see if it makes any difference. Now, one of the things that it did say was sift all of the ingredients first. So I've got my grandmother's mixing bowl and her sifter, which I don't know about you guys, but I was always taught the best way to dry a sifter is to pop it in the oven while the oven's still hot after you've washed it. So it's got this lovely burnt sort of effect. A family heirloom. Absolutely love it. But the first thing we're going to do is put all of the dry ingredients into the bowl, and using that tip I found online, we are going to sift them first. The first thing you need is 4 cups of self-raising flour. I have eaten so many scones. I love a Devonshire tea more than life itself, but I honestly can't recall ever making scones, and I'm a bit excited, to say the least. So some of you know this channel, we're starting to do new challenges, challenges from some new things. I've just done the first part of a live cooking the first dish from a 1973 American recipe card box. And I've thrown the CWA book into the mix because who doesn't love home cooking? And we've also selected something that I'm going to make from a 1990 Australian Women's Weekly cookbook that looks pretty average, but we'll give it a go. So put in your self-raising flour. Hopefully it'll all go into the sifter. 4 cups of flour. This is a recipe Cooking with Kay would make. Just because of the volume of it, I'm going to actually sift half of this first. But yeah, this was a handy tip. You want to add into the dry ingredients too a pinch of salt. And then I'm going to add the other dry ingredient. Now, this is actually suggested in the CWA book, is if you add a tablespoon of corn flour to each cup of self-raising flour, it makes the scones lighter. Well, we want light scones, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of corn flour, or in some parts of the world it's known as cornstarch. Let's chuck them into the mix as well. 3. Now, baking is not my forte, but I really want to learn how to bake, and especially stuff like this. There's nothing better than visiting a friend for a cup of tea and there's some fresh scones. We're going to be serving them as a Devonshire tea. So we're going to be serving them with whipped cream and a berry jam. And I'm also going to have a cup of tea with them. So they're all the dry ingredients, pretty easy. So we'll just sift them into the bowl. I love this sifter. It reminds me of watching my grandmother cooking. I used to sit on a stool in the kitchen at home and watch my mum cook. Hey, yep, so what? Good to see you, Groover. And I used to sit on a stool in my grandmother's kitchens too and watch them cook. And all these, the old bowls and sifters, and I mean, even the knife that I'm going to be mixing it with, mix with a knife. That's another hot tip I read. In fact, that's actually not in there. That was the one that I read online. But even these knives, like they were my mum's or I think these were my grandmother's actually. So now we've got all our dry ingredients. We have the self-raising flour, a pinch of salt, and 4 tablespoons of corn flour. Next, we're going to add our wet ingredients. And first, we need 300 mils of milk. Don't forget, guys, pull off those plastic rings and snip them before you put them in the bin, because they end up on the landfill. They fly around, they end up in the ocean, and they get around little critters' necks. So, yeah, always snip plastic circles, whatever they are, however big or small they are, before you get rid of them. 300 mils of milk going in. I had to turn around. I couldn't see the line. So, 300 mils of milk. Just pour it straight on top of the dry ingredients. And then we're going to add 300 mils of cream. And I've just chosen like fresh cream, because if you use a thicker cream, it'll make a difference in how it mixes. So this is like, I think in some parts of the world it's called a pouring cream maybe. There we go, 300 mils of cream. And the rest of the cream I'm going to put in a bowl in my KitchenAid, which is sitting over there on the other side of the bench. For a little while the scones are cooking, we're going to whip the cream. So I'm just going to pop the rest of that cream over there. And this was the tip that I got online, was mix the wet ingredients and the dry ingredients. Oh, the one thing I have forgotten, it doesn't matter that it wasn't sifted, a teaspoon of sugar. And I'm just using caster sugar, the fine white sugar, because the only other sugar I have in the house is raw sugar, and this is already very fine anyway. So yeah, don't forget a teaspoon of sugar. Helps the medicine go down, apparently. And then yeah, mix it. Don't mix it with a spoon or anything other, like don't use a wooden spoon, a plastic spoon. Mix it all together with a knife, and basically you want to mix it to what they call a soft dough. We'll see. Like I said, baking is not my forte. I'm more of a cook. As my friend Jade says, cooking is an art, baking is a science. I mean, I think it can be a bit rigorous, a bit rough with it. Otherwise, we're going to be here till tomorrow. It's kind of lumpy, but I'm just going to keep mixing it for a little while and see what happens. A soft dough. I was expecting it to be a little bit drier than this, but anyway, who am I to question? Have you ever made scones? Yep, so what? Does your dough look like this? It is sort of thickening up a little bit, actually. It feels like it is. I mean, it's got body. I'm just going to give my hands another wash. I did wash them before I started cooking, but I'm about to manhandle the dough. And we're going to pour it out onto this board, but we're going to just lightly flour it. With flouring your board, you can use plain or self-raising. I've got the self-raising out still, so I'm going to use that. And you just want to spread it out as much as you can on your board, or at least the area you're going to be working. Buttermilk biscuits, very similar. Although the way you guys serve them with gravy, the scones in Australia, although we can do savoury ones, like you can make cheese ones, you can do fruit ones. That's a good wetness. Awesome. You can do fruit, any type, like currants, sultanas, that sort of stuff. You can use wholemeal flour, whatever. But one of the ways we serve it is with whipped cream and jam. So anyway, we're going to put this now onto the board. I'll just push it out with the knife. Out you go. It already smells like scones without them even cooking. See, in Australia, what we call a biscuit, you guys call a cookie. So when you guys call these biscuits. We call them scones. But then Shady Man, who's in the UK, was debating with me the other day about calling them scones. But for whatever reason, Australians pronounce it scone. And I'm just going to get a spoon, a spatula maybe. No, a spoon would be better. This one's got a bit of a split in it, but that doesn't matter, just to get the rest of the dough out. Just whack it all on top, I guess. But yeah, I've eaten many a scone, many a Devonshire tea. I love a blueberry scone. I love fruit scones. I love scones. I love the savoury ones, you name it. So there's our dough. Get this out of the way. And at the end of this live, I'll be selecting the next thing we're going to make. Hi, Emily. You're still lurking, bedtime. Well, we're getting on with the scones. So I've put them on the board, and then the recipe just says to pat it out to like 2.5 centimetres thick. You do want a bit of height with your scone. Maybe I'll put some flour on my hands too, hey? Because it's just, it's sticky, man. Am I doing this right? My God, I didn't think I was going to be this sticky. Anyway, that's about 2.5 centimetres, I reckon. Wash my hands again. This is messy, fun business, hey? And then in my cookie cutter tin, I've got my grandmother's old scone ring. They're a bit deeper than like a cookie one. These ones are actually, oh, hang on, these are all the same. What size do you reckon, guys? Let's go 7 centimetres. We'll make them a bit bigger, then there's room for error. We don't fry them too much. And it says to lightly flour the ring as well. So we'll just give them a bit of a light flouring, whatever that means. Inside and out, I guess. And also the baking tray. I'm just using this as a baking tray. I haven't replaced my favourite cookie tray yet, but this is like a substitute one. And I did actually, this recipe in the CWA thing doesn't say anything about putting anything on the tray, but these trays aren't the best. So I had a quick look on the Google machine, and a lot of the recipes say to lightly flour the baking tray as well. So I'm going to do that. And who doesn't like a bit of flour on the bum of their scone? Okay, so here we go. I'm going to use the scone cutter. And the other trick that I read online was you don't twist them when they're in the dough. You pull them straight back out. So like my instinct is to twist, but apparently you just pull it. This is too runny. That didn't come out. I want to twist it. It's just sinking back into the dough. Help. Do I add a bit more flour? Yep, so what? And just mix it with a bit more flour on it? What do you reckon? I think that's what I'm going to do, because they're not even lifting out. I'm just going to add a bit of flour. It's not even sifted. And just see if I can get it a little bit firmer, because it's still, I think, a bit too runny. This is me demonstrating my absolute lack of baking skill and knowledge, because I've probably now just murdered it. Flour your hands good and do them by hand. What, just do like balls and put it on the tray? It is a bit humid because we've had some weird rain, actually. Do you think that's impacting my dough? All right, hang on. I'm just going to wash my hands again. I'm going to try the floured hand trick. I was thinking 4 cups of self-raising flour was a lot for a recipe, but I'm basically going to use the whole packet to keep my hands floured, I reckon. Oh, let's just put it over there. Oh, the oven, by the way, I've got that set at 225 Fahrenheit, which was the recommended temperature. Okay, this feels like it's going to hold together a bit more. Yeah, look, I've heard the oil your hands trick, but this is already too runny. So I like the flour one. I'm just going to give this a wash because it's got all the glove on it. And the other thing I might do is, if I can't twist the little ring, at least I can get that knife and just cut around it a bit, because I do want to try to make it true to the Country Women's Association recipe. I'm twisting it. I don't care what that other thing said. But I might take your advice and do them by hand. I just need to break it away from the rest of it. There we go. Let's just do that. Plop him on the baking tray. I'll do it as close to the edge as I can. And I'm just going to slide it out. Ha-ha! See? Necessity, the mother of invention. I'm only going to cook 6 of them now, or however many I fit on this tray. I think this dough is going to make about 20. But I haven't spaced out the racks in the oven, so I'm going to be able to do about 8. That's all right. Once I've finished, oh shoot, now I've just completely butchered that one. Once I've finished this live, I will keep cooking them. Yeah, it's not super humid though. Like it's just, but although I must admit that one's completely munted. I must admit, Tassie, we're not known for humid weather. So I did read somewhere when you cook scones to push them together, actually. So I'm going to do that. So you sort of pull them apart. Let me just salvage that one. I can't remember where I read that. They don't need to be spaced out. So they can be cooked. Like a lot of our bakeries, when you buy scones in a packet, they're all connected. And you pull them apart. Oh, I don't know what's going on here. I'm just going to flour my hands again. I'll do the other ones by hand. I wanted to do it by the recipe, but I think the by hand way is the way to go. Okay. I'm going to find sort of scone. Well, but some of it's a bit more firm than others. Do I soldier on a bit longer? Let's try it. I'll sort of push them all together and make it work. You watch. You watch. You'll be bewildered by my skills. Possibly. This is fun, though, I have to admit. And knowing at the end of it. See, that I know, too, like my grandmother, her scone recipe, which I can't find, she swore by putting lemonade into the pastry as well, or the dough, and not like the lemonade you're thinking of in Australia. we call like 7-Up is called lemonade. Whereas your beautiful, fresh lemon juice, lemon stuff that you make, we make that too. And it's also called lemonade, or it's called old-fashioned lemonade. I'm tenacious. Honestly, it's like a river of dough here on this chopping board. I'm just going to put flour straight onto it. I mean, it'd be good if they, were a little bit successful. Drowning in flour now. Look, if they're a disaster, there are people in the area that have pigs, and you can put, I don't know if dough, well, actually they would eat scones. You can put a bucket of slops out on your veranda or out on your front porch and message them, and they swing by and they feed their pigs. So, and she actually promoted it. She said, if you ever cook anything, then you're not happy with it, don't chuck it, stick it in a bucket, and they leave you, when they come and get it, they either tip it into another bucket or they leave one of theirs for next time. They'll just take your bucket away, but they give you another bucket to use. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, if these are a horrible mess, some pigs might be having a Devonshire tea later on today. Yeah, the 7-Up tip. But again, I'm cooking true to the Country Women's Association recipe today. But if I find my grandmother's scone recipe, she used to make the most incredible scones. So I'm keen to find it. And that's the one that had the lemonade in it. I was actually surprised this one didn't, because I was told that it's a Country Women's Association recipe that has the lemonade in it. But not this version. This is the one served at the Royal Melbourne show. They don't muck around with lemonade in their scones. So when it says these are at the Melbourne show, these are the ones that are actually served to people. Like if you want to have a Devonshire tea, our showgrounds have got like a tea room, and that's where you can go and have Devonshire tea. So I've got a bit more dough than will fit onto this thing, but I won't chuck it. I will put it into a little bowl. And after this live, they only take about 12 minutes to cook. So I thought I'd stay live and we'll see the finished disaster. It looks like there's more dough, more flour than dough happening on the baking tray now. Okay, Robertson from, I haven't heard of Duck Dynasty. You always put me onto new things. Both of you girls do, actually. I'll check it out. So, yeah, there's probably enough dough there to make another 4 or 2. I don't know. I'll worry about it later. All right, they're on the board. They're on the baking tray. I'll just wash my hands again. Love this messy baking stuff. And they look exactly like someone who's not great at baking would make scones look. But they're my first scones ever, guys. So here they are. They're a bit random, but I'm whacking them in the oven because the oven is now up to temperature. And I'm going to put a timer on we'll go for, it says 12 to 15 minutes, but let's set it for 12 and we'll have a look then. Timer is on. I might just clean some of this mess away. The beauty of this board is, which you won't be able to see it, but because if I tip it, flour is going to go everywhere. Sticky ones are the best. Awesome. It's got a little bit of wood on the end of it that runs the full length of the board, so you can press it up against your bench top and push it in like that, and it sits still. But the beauty of it too is you can pull it away and take it over to the other bench, and it just happily sits over there. I absolutely love it. My niece put me onto them. They're from Australian Kmart, which is a bit different to the old US Kmart. Aussie Kmart is a bit like Target, but better. And it's bamboo too. I love bamboo boards. But yeah, my niece Jemima put me onto it and I absolutely love it. So while they're cooking, I'm now going to chuck on the KitchenAid. There'll be a bit of sound pollution, a bit of noise pollution. I'm just going to whip some cream. I'm also going to put the kettle on and make a cuppa. Normally I'd make a pot of tea, but I've actually run out of the loose leaf tea that I love, so I'm just going to do a tea bag. Hey, Veruca. Sorry about the noise pollution, groovers. It's already been 2 minutes, guys. I've also just got a wire rack ready for the scones. But I'm going to be eating them hot, but I'm going to put them on here when they come out of the oven so they don't keep cooking. Do you ever keep whipping it? I have done that before, yeah, so what? This is nearly done. Actually, it's almost turning to Butterland. I had it on full bore. It's fine. It's perfect. It's how it should be. So that's all good to go, and I'll be having whipped cream. I'll get the jam out too. So what you groovers call, you love making butter? What you guys call Jello, we call jam. And this is one from a lavender farm just down the road from me at a place called Port Arthur. And it's lavender with 3 different berries, and it's blueberries, raspberries, and strawberries. And it's absolutely divine. I'm addicted to it. My sister has to go down to Port Arthur. They're building at the moment. They don't have a laundry. She sometimes does her laundry when she visits me. But I'm often saying to her, can you grab me another jar of the jam? Because I'm absolutely addicted to it. It's delicious. You like jelly jam? Me too. And I've never been a particularly huge fruity jam fan until, I mean, don't get me wrong, we've grown up with our mums and grandmothers making strawberry, raspberry, every jam under the sun. But I kind of went off jam for a long time. But now I love them because a lot of people that are making them, like this one with the lavender, rather than putting a heap of sugar, they use the lavender to flavour it. So they're a bit more leaning towards a more savoury flavour, which I prefer to a sweet one. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the butter because I haven't over whipped it, but it's not at the light fluffy part. It's a few steps past that. But the scones won't be too long now. There'll be another 7 minutes. I might just make my cup of tea. There's nothing better than fresh scones out of the oven. And to be honest, I mean, these are plain scones, but if it's a fruit scone, with currants and raisins and stuff like that in it, and then lashings of butter. Oh, jalapeno jam, yum. There's so much beautiful food and fun things that we can get these days. It's come a long way, which is why that thing I cooked earlier from 1973, very, very basic. I'm not expecting it to be like those kebabs tonight when I have them for dinner. I'm not expecting them to be incredible. I'm actually expecting the onion rings I make in the air fryer to be better than the kebabs, but we'll see. We'll see. But it wasn't a very complicated recipe. But then the way the world's going and the cost of food and stuff, I think it makes sense that we start cooking back from these cookbooks and, you know, from the 70s and 80s where they used fewer ingredients, because we've still got things like jalapeno jam that we can whack on to, you know, add a bit of flavour if we need to. I'll just make my cup of tea. Bit prematurely because it's gone, still have another 5 minutes, but I'm going to have a little. Now I've got my tea. Cheers, everyone. This is my mum's mug. I didn't keep a lot of things when my parents died, but this was her mug, and I just love the simple design, but it's also got a little fish on the handle. You can smell the scones from here. Ooh. They're rising, guys. They look incredible. Oh, my God. I'm so proud of myself. I don't know. I'm actually a bit bummed. My grandma, when her scones were cooked, actually, I know what I can do. She used to put them in a basket with a fresh tea towel and wrap them up to keep them warm. And I bought this bowl last year just because I liked it and it's light. And I needed a little bowl for my onions and garlic. And I saw them in a different shop and they actually had a bread proofing bowl. So like when you make the dough and you proof it, that's what this bowl is for, weirdly. And I'd never heard of that before, but I'm going to put them into here and wrap them up in a tea towel. Do I butter the tops? What, when they come out of the oven? The recipe don't say to do that. Yep, so what? I've never seen a scone with butter on the top. So we often have them out of the oven with butter and it melts. Like you cut them in half and put butter in the middle. Maybe that's part of your biscuits. It makes your biscuits different to our scones. So I'm going to find a little tea towel, one of my smaller ones. And Grandma used gingham, so I found a little gingham tea towel. And, yeah, I'm going to actually pop them in there and cover them up so they stay warm and fresh, just like Grandma did. But these are looking great. They're not golden yet, but they're looking really good. Butter one and try, but I'm going to be doing the cream and jam in the middle. But the butter on top, why wouldn't you just cut it in half and put butter in the middle? I'm just going to flip them around too because there's a hot spot in my oven towards the back and I want to try to cook them evenly. So I'm just going to flip them around. Oh, my God. Holy shit. I just put my thumb into one of them. They're really soft. Oh, so you do the... Oh, butter makes everything better. It does. And I'm happy to try it for sure. I've never put butter on top of a scone. I'm going to do it. Let me get my butter out. We've got the butter now. Yep, so what? This is butter. It's just a soft version. It's not a margarine. You'll never see margarine in this household, ever. But I'll also show you how to do the Devonshire tea scones too. But you're right, butter does make everything better. They look really good. And when I spun the tray around, I put my thumb, I had an oven mitt on, but I put my thumb partly into the scone on the end, and it was so soft it just went straight in. All right, while we're waiting, because we've got a few more minutes, I'm going to actually randomly open the CWA Cookbook. Actually, I'll just need to put a little post-it note so I can... Actually, there's really nothing more I need to know about the scones, so I'm going to slam it shut and I'm going to randomly select. We've got a fruit thing coming up. We've got a salad coming up. So I'm going to try and find another baking thing that we'll do from this in the next week. Okay. We're going to be making... This sounds like the easiest recipe in the world. I'll be doing a video of this one, though. We're going to be making peanut butter fudge. I love peanut butter. And I love fudge. And it's got 3 ingredients. Yum. So keep an eye out for that. That'll probably be a video because fudge has to go into the fridge and firm. But the next time I do a challenge from this book, it's going to be peanut butter fudge. All right, there's our 12 minutes. Silence. Are we golden? Not quite. A few more minutes, Grievers. And the oven's on 225 Celsius, which is, I'm trying to think for Fahrenheit, but it's pretty hot. Fahrenheit, so 225. It's in the 400 to 450 Fahrenheit range. This book's got the all the different conversions at the front. It's actually a very informative little book. But yes, the next time, I know, peanut butter fudge. It's got 3 ingredients. It's got peanut butter, chopped chips, and condensed milk. That's it. Oh, what a prick, though. It's a microwave recipe, which I don't own a microwave, but that's all right. We're going to put it over the stove top and melt it that way. How fancy. The CWA Cookbook has microwave recipes. But, yeah, peanut butter fudge. So that one will be a video because I will be doing some videos and I'll be filming them in vertical so I can put them on as shorts as well. But yay, this is fun. And there will still be me cooking other things as well. I was about to go back on keto, but I'm having too much fun. And nothing I'm going to be cooking is going to be remotely keto because it's all 70s, 80s, 90s. And we might even be going back to the 60s and the 50s. Yeah, nothing is going to be keto. There's going to be flour everywhere. But it's fun. But I'll be doing lots of veggies and my usual stuff as well on this channel too. The channel's not all going to be challenges because there's still a gazillion other recipes I want to make for you as well. We're all a bit excited about the peanut butter fudge. 3 ingredients. It's literally the whole lot just goes into a bowl in a microwave, or I'll be doing it over a pot of boiling water, and you mix it all together, and then you mix the chocolate and the peanut butter, and then you add the condensed milk at the end, mix it all together, stick it in a tin and whack it in the fridge. There you go. There's a recipe. You don't even have to wait for me to do it. Bring it on. I'm definitely in the microwave section because the recipe directly under it is a tuna risotto, and that's so you must have a section just for microwaving, but we're going to adapt. But yeah, underneath it was a tuna risotto, which sounds, I'd eat that too. Don't mind a tuna anything really. I think tin tuna is one of the most underrated things you can get to cook with. All right, let's see how these scones are doing, guys. Oh, I think they're perfect. I'm very excited. Oh, my God, Grievers. Just in the nick of time. Look at my first ever scones. Oh my God, guys. I am so excited. And I just can't hide it. I probably let them go a minute longer. But look at them. Some of them are a bit white looking on your screen, but for me, they're all golden. There's just a couple that have got a bit more flour. But unfortunately, the way this camera works, it doesn't pick up color very well. But they are literally golden. Beautiful, and they smell amazing. I'm so excited. You can actually get a better idea of the color from a distance, I've noticed. So that's pretty cool. Yay! All right. Let's see if I can somehow daintily, and my name and daintily. Oh my goodness. Almost daintily. Rarely go together. Oh, guys, look at them. They're incredible. All right, I've got my cup of tea. First thing we're going to do. That's totally the money shot right there. Look at it. Get the butter out of the way. Look at that. Hallelujah. The ones there do look whiter than that, but it's just a bit of flour on the top. They're golden as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is what so what's suggested, and I'm going to put some butter on top of one. Which one? Let's just go with this little groover at the end. Fresh scones for lunch. I'm so proud of myself. Seriously, my oven is like, if you bought a property to put tenants in, like a rental property, the oven I've got is the oven that you would buy. It cooks better than the top end ovens I've had in previous houses. So what do I do now? Just eat it just like this? Yep, so what? Or is that all I do? I just want to make sure before I have a crack. While I'm waiting for further instructions, I'm actually going to take the other ones off the rack and do my grandma's old trick. And the beauty of these two is you can freeze them. They're so light and fluffy. Oh my God. Like I've bought scones in bakeries that are like rocks. So that's how we go. Awesome. So I've just popped them in the basket like my grandma used to do, and then she would fold the tea towel. She actually had like a proper scone towel thing. But she'd do that, and then they'd stay warm a lot longer. So when you went to her house, if she'd made scones in the morning, they'd still be warm. But these feel incredibly light and fluffy. All right, I'm just going to cut that one in half. I'm not a complete glutton. Let's see, butter on top instead of in the middle. They haven't risen as high as other scones I've seen in the past, but I don't really care because they're delicious. They're light and fluffy. They taste to me I mean, not to say it wasn't a cool idea, but it tastes the same as putting butter in the middle of them. But they are, yeah, I'm getting it. I'm loving it. Oh, you had rolls in baskets like that? Yeah. They're cute. So now I know I think, Emily, you've had a Devonshire tea before. I'm not sure if you had your, so what's the difference with you guys with your biscuits? Like, when you do biscuits and gravy, what's the difference in the recipe that you do? Oh, there's nothing better because they're not piping hot, but they're still hot and buttery and they're not as high, but I could have put them even closer together and they wouldn't have had any option but to push each other up. But I love them. I love the dough. I love that they're salty. Salt instead of sugar. Oh, and you use buttermilk instead of cream. Yeah. I actually didn't eat biscuits and gravy when I lived in the States, and I was bummed when I came home and heard about them. But are they more of a southern thing? Because I was in the Midwest. All right, so I'm going to show you how to make Devonshire tea scones. And what you could do, you could still do them with buttermilk, but swap out the teaspoon of sugar, like add in, sugar rather than take out the salt. They seem very similar, Emily, for sure. Okay, so a Devonshire tea scone. So, yeah, these aren't as high as, I'm actually picking a smaller one because I think 2 scones for lunch is more than enough. Let me get a little knife with a bit of a... So what we do is we cut them in half. And also, I think our scones are a bit smaller than your biscuits, right? Okay, now bearing in mind, I have slightly over whipped the cream. But what we do, it's just easy to scoop it straight out of the bowl. Oh, shoot, I've done one upside down. Hang on a sec. Normally it's the jam and then the cream. I'm going to do a back to front one. The scones you've seen, you feel fancy just watching me do this. Oh, cute. So, yeah, you put on the jam, the blob of jam. This one that I got back to front, I'm just going to put the jam on top. And then you put your whipped cream on top. And that's it. That's what a Devonshire tea scone looks like. I'll take that one away because that one's upside down. So, yeah, you have the jam. I mean, you can get a knife and just spread a little bit of jam and then a blob of whipped cream. And you wash it all down with a cup of tea. So now I'm going to do the taste test because I don't have a lead like Kay does. I knew they were going to be amazing because I've got my favourite jam. I love scones and they've got whipped cream on top. I mean, how can you go wrong? I'm amazed at how light and fluffy these are. Obviously, as they cool down, they tend to get a little bit harder. But these are, without a doubt, the freshest, fluffiest, softest scones I can ever remember having. I might have had them when I was little, but I reckon my grandmas used to make them an hour or two before we rocked up. But, yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. 10 out of 10. But my kitchen is far from 10 out of 10. I've already done 2 cooking lives and it's 1:30. I'm impressed. I'm going to clean up the kitchen and then I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go and do a bike class and burn off some of the calories I've just shoved in my face. But that is how you make Australian scones. A little bit different to biscuits, but that you guys have. But with a bit of luck, there could be a biscuit recipe loitering in that recipe card collection I've got. Thanks for hanging out with me, girls. You're gorgeous. And if you're awake, and you may not be, when I start cooking at dinner time, I usually have a very top-heavy Australian audience. But I'll be doing the second half of that 1973 recipe card challenge as well. Sweet dreams, Emily. Lovely to see you, beautiful, and hope to see you again soon. And thank you as well, Yep So What, for giving me some good tips along the way. But they're a 10 out of 10. They're delicious. And I'm going to log off now so I can eat the other half while it's still nice and hot. See you next time, beautiful people. Bye.